Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, but you can call me Monkey Chi.
Oh, Monkey Chi all day long, everybody. We are back yet again, and man, oh man, do we have a review for you this week. We are out one Sean Keenan, but never you mind. We're doing the things that Sean Keenan, when Dad's away, the kids will play. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Sean does not tend to like these animated movies from DC, and hey, one can't blame him necessarily, but with him being gone for a little bit, Bruce and I have said, you know what, let's go ahead and do something Sean would be like, that stinks, it's no good, and I can't blame him, but we're going to do it anyway. That way, we come back to a happier Sean, right?
Oh, yeah, that's what it's all about, the happy Sean.
Just make sure, it's like when your parents went away, we're going away for the weekend, make sure everything's nice. You may have a party, but you clean up afterwards,
Yeah, you have a big cleaning montage where the house that was nearly burned to the ground suddenly looks immaculate in the matter of 30 seconds.
Yeah, we covered that on our episode of Weird Science where it makes no bloody sense whatsoever.
Exactly.
So go check that out if you will. But today we're going to be covering Batman Ninja, the latest in the what seems like countless editions of DC animated movies. We've had so many that are, of the regular I think, and Batman, of course, being the number one, that's their bread and butter right there, is the Batman. And you feel like, hey, maybe every single story for Batman that's ever been needed to tell could be told now. Yeah. So we go, no, it hasn't. We're going to come up with something else new and put everything into the biggest of blenders and see what comes out. And that's what we got today with Batman Ninja.
Oh, and Dewey, man. It is a giant-sized blender of sorts.
And I'll be honest with you ahead of time. I don't think I even saw the trailer for this. I may have seen maybe 4 seconds worth of video, just like Batman riding his, horse with his Batman crazy Japanese suit on of armor or whatever on.
Yeah. And
that's about it. I'm just like, well, this looks just ridiculous. I had no idea, about the plot or anything or how this works. And let me tell you, kids, you're in for a ride. So we're going to talk about that all today. But we also do want to take the time out because, Bruce, it's around the first of the month. It's our first.
Oh, I love the first of the month.
First of the month for us, so we have to do what we do around here, and that is thank everyone that goes over to patreon.com/HMP and helps support this here program. Because it is without them that this show cannot go on, or at least it shouldn't.
Yeah, it shouldn't go on anyway, but thank you.
That's what most people say. That's what most people, when you just go like, hey, is this something that and they just scream into the abyss no, and you're like, I didn't say anything yet. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I'm talking about ladies now. But we do have 42 patrons over there rocking us out, and we want to thank you guys so very much. Cool part about those folks is they get our pre-show, post-show, and they actually get to vote on the movies that we'll be watching in the next month. So guess what? That's actually coming up early because of all the different releases and stuff that are out. So we've come up with those movies. Here they are for you. Now, again, if you hear this in time and can get there and vote as quickly as you can get in on this. But this is the all-star team, right? I think that's what we're calling it.
Yeah, or what's the opposite of all stars? Like the flunkies.
Yeah, the always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Yeah, exactly. So these are ones that have actually come up several times throughout our voting, but have most of which actually have gotten a decent amount of votes, but have never actually won. So somebody's walking away a winner unless no one votes, but someone's going to vote at least once, I'm sure. So here are the movies. We have Surrogates, Ghost World, Barbed Wire, and History of Violence. And if you don't think that that's a weird variety, you're crazy, because that's nuts.
Oh, we should add the Karate Kid.
The Karate Kid. All right. First of all, what's your comic connection for Karate Kid, Smart Mouth? I want to put you on the location right now.
Okay. The production company had to pay DC Comics a small licensing fee for the name Karate Kid because there's a member of the Legion of Superheroes called the Karate Kid.
Bruce Leslie, if I didn't love you as much as I already do, it'd be even more. Oh my goodness! Now people are going to be like, now it's going to be a write-in vote.
Yeah, the write-in vote for the Karate Kid. First time for everything.
Oh my God! And here's the thing, I don't want to encourage that, but if that is what the Patreon folks told us they wanted to do, by God, we'd do it.
That's what we'd have to do.
We would. So that's patreon.com/HMP. You can vote on that, and you can vote on what we wanted to watch, or apparently whatever you want to watch. I guess we'll just figure it out.
It's going to be pure anarchy now.
It's just like they just come back and they're like, oh, no. We run the show now. And we're like, we know you do. That's why we gave you the titles. You guys are the producers, man. But I suggest this with everybody. If it's not our show, if it's somebody else's show, whomever that that you trust, that is small independent thing, not somebody that's on a big giant podcasting network with like all this corporate money behind them and things like that. Go out. There's a lot of great independent podcast producers out there. If it's not us, if it's somebody else, anybody, take 10, 15, $20 a month, spread it out amongst creators that you dig, man. You can help a lot of people, realize their creative dream and, help keep pumping things like this along. And again, we really do appreciate everybody that's out there and does all this stuff. And Bruce, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. When are we going to do our episode, our bonus episode for our Patreon listeners?
I finally watched the complete run of the series, if you want to call it that. And one thing I will say is whatever you do not support Alex Skimple's podcasting. But that aside, man, I guess we need to find one evening this week we can do it.
We're going to do it this week. I will because I think I maybe have one or two to catch up to finish off everything, but I'll be good too. We'll record that and drop it this week. So, and again, you get bonus episodes, pre-show, post-show, voting bonus stuff. How can you lose? You cannot. That's why you go over to patreon.com/HMP and do that today. We'd really enjoy it. And we also enjoy the people that go down to iTunes and give us a 5-star review there, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
It's been a little bit. And I'll be honest with you guys. For one reason, it happens. There's a purge every now and then, and some votes and some reviews and things go away from iTunes for whatever reason. So we've actually dropped a couple. So let's help make those up. Patreon, or just drop over to the iTunes. Even if you're not, a regular iTunes person, just register real quick with an email that is your dump email. We all have a dump email. It's just like, well, I got to put an email. I'm going to put it into that one because I never check that one. That you do it.
I kind of like my dump email better now.
It's like you ever get so bad with the other one, you're just like, I'm going to the dump email. This one's going to be way better than this crap. Sick of that. I don't have to I got a whole nother level of problems over on this one. This way I could just adjust my problems from time to time. So Bruce, it is time. Like I said, this was one that we wanted to cover while Keenan wasn't here because he does not care for these. And I have carefully chosen to actually play the one with English.
Ooh, good choice.
Because there is one I think that's in Japanese, and I hope this isn't it. But we're gonna go ahead and
I'll translate if it is.
So let's go ahead and take a listen to the trailer for Batman Ninja.
Everyone's been calling me the most powerful man in Japan, the Demon King, Lord Joker.
Where am I? From the look of it, this is ancient Japan.
Our master has ordered us to kill him on sight.
The Joker.
That's right, Max.
We relieved you with us. Master Bruce. They're all trying to take over this country and rewrite history. This is it. The Batmobile, the Batwing, the Batcycle. They've all been destroyed at the hands of the Joker. But I have my mind, my spirit, and all of you.
When the country is in chaos, a foreign ninja wearing the mask of a bat will come and restore order to our land. Great shinobi from across the sea of time, Lord Batman. Now what?
Alrighty, that is the trailer for Batman Ninja. Is just actually come out pretty recently here on digital and DVD, Blu-ray, all that kind of good jazz. Yeah.
In the U.S., in Japan, man, it's going to get a theatrical release on June 15th.
It got a small 2-day New York release here in the U.S. on the 1st and 2nd of this month.
I did not know that.
There you go. Here's the IMDb plotline. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. Batman Ninja takes a journey across the ages as Gorilla Grodd's time displacement machine transports many of Bruce's worst enemies to feudal Japan, along with the Dark Knight and a few of his allies. The villains take over in the form of feudal lords that rule the divided land, with the Joker taking the lead among the warring factions. His traditional high-tech weaponry is exhausted almost immediately. Batman must rely on his intellect and his allies, including Catwoman and the extended Bat family, to restore order to the land and return to the present day Gotham City. This is let me try to get this right. This is not easy. All these great Japanese names. This is directed by Junichi Mizusaki. Okay, perfect. Kuzaki Nakashima, good. Leo Chu, easiest one, perfect. And that guy did the English screenplay, so I guess they're all close to the same. Anywho, and it's starring a whole bunch of people. Now, there is a Japanese language only, and if you look on IMDb, the Japanese cast is actually listed first, and then the American cast is actually second. You have Roger Craig Smith as Batman, Tara Strong as Harley Quinn, Tom Kenny, Tony Hale, and a handful of others here. Bruce, like I said, I don't think I really realized much of all this kind of stuff. I don't know where in the world you were going to get it, so we have to ask ourselves that one important question. Does Adam remember where the sound file's at? Here it is.
It's time for Bruce's comic book connection.
This should be interesting. I don't know what you're going to do, but give it a shot.
I didn't know what to do myself, but I will say that Batman Ninja is a 2018 Japanese animated science fiction period martial arts superhero film. So it's got a little something for everybody there. And Takashi Okazaki, who also happens to be the creator of something called Afro Samurai, is the character designer for the film. Now, Afro Samurai is a manga series that was released in America by Tor Books, the same folks that publish Game of Thrones. Now, inspired by Okazaki's love of soul and hip-hop music, as well as American media in general, Afro Samurai follows the life of Afro Samurai, who witnessed his father, Rokotaro, who just happened to be owner of the #1 headband, being killed by a male gunslinger named Justice, who just happened to be owner of the #2 headband. Now, while he was a child, he saw this killing of his father happen. So as an adult, Afro sets off to kill Justice and avenge his father, and that's some pretty straightforward storytelling right there. Now, here's a little info about the setting of Afro Samurai. In a feudal yet futuristic Japan, it is said that the one who wields the #1 headband is the fiercest fighter in the world and shall possess godlike powers. The only way to obtain the #1 headband is to challenge and defeat the current wearer in combat. However, only the #2 can challenge the #1, whereas anyone can challenge the #2. And I got to tell you, that scenario sounds a little bit like the rules of professional wrestling, if you ask me. I mean, Ric Flair stated it succinctly when he said, if you want to be the man, you have to beat the man.
Yes,
now, years later, Afro is the #2 master swordsman. He discovers that there are other headbands in existence, ranging to an unspecified higher number, and sees that the corpses of those who wore them are skewered throughout Justice's safe house. Now, here's a spoiler for Afro Samurai, but Afro kills Justice and takes the #1 headband. Then he goes to live in the mountains, where he's confronted by an old enemy who just happens to be wearing all the headbands. Now, I haven't seen this picture, but I'm kind of imagining it's a head just bulging with like stretchy NBA basketball style headbands just wrapped around at every angle. Also, just so happens that Justice comes back from the dead after Afro Samurai kills him. Now, some production company is working on or maybe already made a live-action movie. There's also an animated television show. And my sources tell me that RZA did the soundtrack, which kind of makes sense, even though the Wu-Tang Clan are far more influenced by China than Japan. There's a character named Ninja, voiced by Samuel L. Jackson. Also, in case you didn't know, Ninja is a ninja. Now, Genosuke is a swordsman who wears a cybernetic teddy bear helmet, and there's a group of 6 monks called the Empty Seven. Why do they call them the Empty Seven when there's only 6 of them? I guess because the spot for the 7th is empty? I'm not real sure. I'm just taking a guess there.
This last spot's for Elijah.
Now, in the video game version, Brother 7 is said to be God himself, so I guess that's an option.
Yeah.
Now, Darman is an insane cyborg scientist employed by the Empty Seven clan to build their machine ninja army as well as the Afro droid. I'm just going to leave that statement there without any elaboration because I believe in just letting the possibilities linger. Yeah. Shichigoro is the owner of the number 2 headband, and on the night of the Japanese Rap Parade Festival, which sounds like a good time, Shichigoro battles Afro. A disc jockey rapper is inadvertently killed by Shichigoro at the parade festival. You know, I could go on with the weirdness, but I think it's better if the listeners check out the anime or manga for themselves. But I guess what I'm getting to is if you want to have a mashup of East and West, ancient feudal Japan, and a sci-fi retro-futuristic touch, Takashi Okazaki is the guy you call.
No kidding, man, because this thing... From like what you
it's a mashup.
From what you describe right there, like, and then what we saw in Batman Ninja, I just go, oh, that seems to make sense.
And you know, some different cultures prefer different sorts of storytelling, and I don't want to be like a moral absolutist or a cultural absolutist, but I'll say that with my experience and my movie watching preferences and my story reading preferences, that oftentimes I think I miss some of the appeal of manga and anime. And this is certainly no exception to that because to me, to my mind, it's been conditioned and trained and weaned and just learned over time to understand Western storytelling structure, I guess, for lack of a better term. To me, it feels like every idea that they have is a possibility. You know how you like... You pin some things up on the board, you know, you put a pin in it, you come back to it, you streamline it, you make it work out. Well, it feels to me like every idea has to be included when I'm watching this movie. Like, no matter how absurd or crazy, every idea is included, but it only gets like 3 to 4 minutes of development, and then you're on to the next idea. Do you feel like it's going a little bit breakneck? It's almost like kids playing with action figures, and you start off playing G.I. Joe, and next thing you know, suddenly... Emperor Gummy Bear is flying a spaceship through the space portal to try to rescue My Little Pony. I mean, it just, wow. Yeah. It just really starts spinning out of control.
Now, I think a lot of this, and this is conjecture on my part. I haven't really done the studies on it. I know I have a couple of people who listen to this show that could probably email us in and maybe fill in a little of my gaps here. But I think a lot of this also comes down to it's a lot of Eastern cultures when they had the introduction of film and everything in there. That was a very peasant thing for people to go to, right? So people still like if you had money, you went to the theater. You know, and if you were kind of a peasant, you went to the movies because that's not, you know, you're not having live people up there. We pre-recorded them and put them up there for you. But the big thing was your money didn't go very far. You know, it costs you, 2-3 cents or whatever to get into the theater. Then you're there. You want to get that money's worth because, you're poor. You didn't, it's not like you have a lot to spend, and what you spend, you want to have the whole gamut of feelings. You want to be happy. You want to be sad. Yeah. You want there to be action and romance and comedy. You want everything in there, and a lot of that stuff still goes on today. I mean, the Indian market in America has gone up big time. So there's a lot of Indian movies that make premiere in large theater houses in America. And a bit of that is, and of course, all these movies are like well over 2 hours. Some of them 2.5, 3 hours long. They're trying to get everything in there. It's everything. And I
including at least 7 dance numbers.
Exactly, 7 dance numbers, and then there's fight scenes and crazy CGI that you've never seen before, and anything else that like it almost looks bad, but it also kind of looks good too. It's really weird because you're just like, I don't know if I love it or I hate it.
And there's a part of me that maybe just isn't as experienced. And I don't know if what I'm seeing here in Batman Ninja is indicative of wider Japanese cinema. But I did see that for the American release, I mean, the Leo Chu that you mentioned, along with a guy named Eric Garcia, admitted to basically rewriting the entire film from the original Japanese script that was written by a guy named, or a lady, I don't know if it's a guy or a lady, someone named Kazuki Nakashima. And ultimately what we have are 2 entirely different stories of the same film. So I don't know, I'm sitting here talking about the difference between East and West, but for all I know, maybe, and at times I felt like maybe they're trying to play up to American expectations of what is in anime. No, it almost felt too on the nose to me at times.
You're not wrong there, because there's a lot of this that seemed to me, and again, that's what's tough, like you said, with the 2 cultures kind of. So basically, they took the same thing, but I guess reworded dialogue or something, maybe, or.
Well, there may even be different edits. You know what I mean? Like they've got a lot of animation to choose from. But yeah, absolutely changing the words coming out of my mouth, out of the characters' mouths. But I mean, potentially even a different cut of the film.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I know we got some of you nerds out there. Email us. I know you've done this.
And what would be interesting is seeing like a subtitled version of the Japanese. This is perfect for Blu-ray geeks. But if it included like the Japanese cut with subtitles, so you could tell the difference between the sub and the dub, essentially, which this one with the reworked story, because it really feels at times. And also, I'd like to see how the voice acting stacks up, because they've got some really veteran voice actors from Warner Brothers Animation here. People like Tara Strong, Fred Tatasciore, a guy whose name I struggle with, Yuri Lowenthal. But it almost seems like the performances, like these guys, the director says, okay, so pretend you're a character from Speed Racer on a few of them, especially Yuri Lowenthal, because some of the voice performances do not sound like what I've come to expect from these veteran actors. Like they're trying to give the sound of dubbed anime.
And I'll be honest, because like when I first looked at IMDb and stuff, and I'm flipping through, because like I said, all the Asian characters, or all the Asian actors, are over at the top, and all the American actors are at the bottom, and I'm like, is this the guy? Before I did any research, right? And I'm looking, I'm like, is that the voice of the thing that's coming out? Because that doesn't look like this kind of voice could come out of that man. In any way, shape, or form. He looks like it looks like a little like an offshoot Muppet or something. He's got a cute little face, but it's just like that little nice looking man. That guy looks like he's going to sell you insurance. He doesn't look like he's going to be Batman. What in the world?
I like it. I like it that one role that they didn't bother to recast was sumo wrestling Bane, because the grunts worked in.
Good job. There you go. That's a cut.
We're keeping that. The idea that there's 2 totally different movies, and people that have watched any anime, and I've only dipped my toes in it rather lightly, but even me, a guy who likes something like Trigun, it's always fun to watch the sub and then the dub and see what they've changed in the story, because some things, I don't know if they do it for story reason or just to make like the words match the way the mouths are moving better. But you do get different dialogue from the sub than the dub a lot of times. Oh,
for sure. And that was one of the things of seeing, or even subtitled to subtitle, because like when the movie Hero came out here in the U.S., Miramax ended up releasing it eventually, but I'd actually bought it on Chinese DVD. And like the menu was in Chinese.
I got some news for you. All DVDs are probably Chinese DVDs.
You silly boy. But it had like, it had to have like, they put instructions into it of just like, hey, here's where all the buttons are of like this is what play is for you.
Okay, I like that.
So you knew what to do and where to go and how to actually get the proper subtitles up there and everything. But what I found was like, having that coming straight over from Hong Kong, is that the subtitles from here to even the Miramax release were very different. It was like,
I didn't know
it
that.
was just like, you think they would have just, because as far as I was aware. They seemed pretty straightforward on the regular DVD. When they came up to the new translation, I'm like, oh, you guys are saying wind there. That almost actually makes more sense.
You weren't saying try the new Taco Bell nacho burrito.
No. 99 cents right now, but it's neat to see like other things like that, and I love the people that can take the time to do all the good stuff, because I've gotten lazy at my old age of doing that. Like I used to be that guy. Now I'm more just like, can I take a nap?
One thing I do like about this movie, and I'll talk about a couple things I like, though there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work for me. But I'd like that it just gets started. Like Grodd does a thing and this happens. And they don't spend a lot of time.
You are in it. You are in it. Like in a traditional story, we're starting on page 45.
Yeah. We don't have to know why Grodd is up to this plan, or we don't have to try to lie about the physics of how it's possible. We don't see him collecting stuff and Batman trying to stop him from collecting things. We don't even get kind of the obligatory opening action scene where Batman's fighting an unrelated group of criminals and then he goes to talk to Gordon and we get into the main.
We just start with Go.
Yeah, we start with Grodd, a Quake engine, and feudal Japan is there within 30 seconds, right?
It is not long at all. I was just like, it was actually very refreshing to just have them go, okay, no, that's what we're doing. We don't care. Why do we need to do this? No, that's the best question. Why do we need to do this?
And the opening animation caught my attention right off the bat. I mean, I kind of knew that I was in for a different animation style. And when I say different, I don't even necessarily mean in the way that anime is typically different from Western animation, but even different from what you've come. I mean, this is not Dragon Ball Z animation either. I mean, this is a really unique looking style, pretty close to what I've seen of Afro Samurai, actually.
There's a bit of that. Like seems, if anyone's seen like Street Fighter V, looks a lot like this.
And also, at least in the beginning, and I don't know if I just adjusted to it or if the movie changed as it went on, but it seems fairly static rather than dynamic at the beginning. At first, it almost had the feel of a motion comic where you could tell there's a lot of hand animation going on here because they don't have an infinite number of cells to give you the smooth kind of motion like you have come to expect from current animation.
And from what I understand, that's also a lot of their style and stuff, too. I got into a conversation about this with some people that were more knowledgeable of the subject and stuff like that. Or maybe even we mentioned a little bit on this show about how, like, a lot of these old Japanese programs and stuff have very limited animation to them. Just because it was, like, what they're doing is so rich and dense and everything, they can kind of only afford to do it, 15 frames a second as opposed to 30, or no, it's a little more than that, but you get the idea. Less.
No, I would absolutely believe you if you told me this was 12 frames a second, like amateur animation, like stop motion level animation.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be shocked because there's a lot of ones, like even stuff that is, as you might imagine, with the advent of computer and as much as that stuff has worked today, is that stuff is still very much in play. Is that they even put in that kind of junky look, even though they don't have to, and that's also like the ghosting and other weird little things like that are actually part of the charm for some people. Now, me, I hate them. I hate that kind of stuff. I'm just like, just make it look perfect, make it look good. I don't like oh, isn't it quirky and fun? It's just like, not if you can help it. I mean, I'll watch some old black and white movies that look like garbage, but I'd rather see them restored ultimately.
But the backgrounds now, the animation itself doesn't seem smooth to me. It seems, like I said, almost motion comic-y. It seems like this is art that was really designed to look better static than animated. But that doesn't mean that it's low quality art, because, man, this stuff is intricate, like ridiculous levels of detail, highly stylized. And it just seemed to me like it was really, really small. Like I've seen really beautiful drawings the size of a postcard. Like I've been at comic conventions where sometimes these incredibly talented artists will draw these really rich looking landscapes on something, a white index card size thing. And I feel like all this animation, because it's so fine and intricate, I feel like it was all done on something really, really small and then adjusted to fit the big screen. It just has that look to it. Like I imagine if you saw the cells, if they used any cell animation, which I'm sure they probably didn't, but I feel like if you saw the cells, like Batman is going to be about the size of your thumb.
Yeah. It's You know who, like, what I think the style kind of reminds me of in a weird sort of way? You tell me what you think about this. Like a real animated up Brian Boland kind of stuff. Had a little Brian Boland with anime vibe.
Maybe.
To a degree.
I think of his stuff as being a little bit bigger and less of the fine lines, like smoother, straighter lines with Brian Boland is kind of what I picture. But this man, like intricacy, like even in the sky, it's so easy just to have a blue sky, but it even has like little scalloped designs drawn into the sky, like something you might see on a vase or something that was really like ancient and well made. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And the movie itself also goes through many a different style change. Now, of all things, you know what this movie reminded me of? Early 2000s Daredevil.
Weird. Not what I would have expected you to say.
Exactly. No one would think about this, but early 2000s Daredevil went through like a weird, like odd phase where the story kept good, but the art got real funky. And so, like, we had every very disparate. We started from Joe Quesada's stuff, then we get into like David Mack stuff. Then we get into Alex Maleev's stuff. It's like, and then, you know, it's just like, it's weird stuff after weird stuff. It's like, this is a very odd way to continue to go, but the story's still the same and very good. This show seemed a lot like that because there are several wildly different animation choices that they decided to do for this thing. And it's really all over the map. It felt like one day they woke up and were just like, you know, like 4 times during the production, they woke up and just go, I feel like we're going to go another direction today. What do you want to do?
What it reminded me of, you know, that comparison you made with Daredevil, but there was a recent, I think it was a Jeff Lemire run on Moon Knight. And, of course, people that know the character Moon Knight know that he deals with dissociative identity disorder. So depending on which identity was manifesting, they would have a different artist draw those pages. So like
I love stuff like that.
Yeah, with 4 identities in a 22-page book, you're getting 5 or 6 pages per artist. And some of the jumps, you know, like Francis Francavilla, a guy that does a lot of like Afterlife with Archie and stuff. He has a really distinct style. There's another artist that looks very much like a 2000 AD style. So these were jarring jumps to show you the jump in personality. And you definitely get that in the middle of this movie when they go to watercolors where, wow, it's very surrealistic. And I've never done, it's like MTV Liquid Television style animation there in the middle.
You're kind of right. There's a lot of that.
And I've
vibe.
never liked stuff that was too avant-garde like that.
And yeah, it's like that stuff usually kind of turns me off too because it's so wild and crazy and out there, and it's just like I'm sure somebody digs it, and I think there are a lot of not only Liquid Television, but I think like that was also somebody that digs on that, like really dug heavy metal back in the day.
Oh yeah.
It was just like, yeah, dude, that's all. Like, it's all the same kind of vibe. It's like there's that dude. We all know who that dude is. Super into the heavy metal comics and everything. Was into that sort of stuff. That's and probably is like way too into anime today for a 45-year-old man.
But just for some practicals of the story we've got, you know, Batman goes back in time to feudal Japan, and the first thing that happens is he's attacked by some samurai that are dressed like the Joker, and then we find out that the Joker has become one of the local feudal lords who wants to be shogun of all of Japan. And one thing I gotta say is they took no shortcuts in the costume or character design of the Joker when we see him here, because all I can think of is something you have to animate. There are a lot of details you have to put.
And everything, even in all the Joker henchmen that are all in his very intricately designed mask and everything, and you've got to do it by like 100.
And he has this weird, like Salvador Dali mustache that's really long and thin. Mm-hmm. But to me, the way he's dressed almost says European Renaissance stage performance more than what I would associate with feudal Japan, which kind of works with the Joker, who's sort of a Harlequin of sorts, even though Harley Quinn has the name. Yeah. Kind of interesting, you know, because it's the right time period, wrong continent, but it's the Joker, so he's always kind of a man out of place.
And we're in like another place and time necessarily, and who's to say that this isn't like an alternate timeline reality? Are we actually back in actual feudal Japan, or is this like an offshoot of some sort? Like, and at the same time, they never tell us any of this stuff, and you're absolutely fine with it.
Yeah, you might be. I guess I'm fine enough with it. I'm fine enough with it. I start getting not fine with it later on. In
But
the
they
movie,
do
I
have a
think.
couple of those. It's just like, hey, shut up. This is where we're at right now kind of moments that I kind of was like, you know what? Yeah, just shut up. Just go with it.
And they give us a few minutes of the tell, don't show sorts of exposition where they say, oh, yeah, by the way, all the different provinces, or what do they call them? I don't know what they call them. Precincts, provinces. I don't know what you call political units in feudal Japan, but all the different
Factions?
regions. Yeah, sure. I don't know, man.
Sure.
Prefects. Aren't they called prefects? Anyway, board prefects. Anyway, they basically say that, they give us these tell, don't show moments where they just say, oh, yeah, Two-Face runs this district. Penguin runs this district. I don't know who else is there. Poison Ivy runs this district. They've got somebody else. There's like 5 of them. They just show you, and then they give you like the name and almost like video game cutscene.
Exactly.
Kind of stuff.
This was their Street Fighter 2 title card sequence. And honestly, there's a lot of this that is like, and I like to think of it because Batman does end up fighting, almost all these people in like some form or another, I guess. But it also felt like a video game of this sort of thing, but with a story that was actually good. Because most video games, like any of the fighting games and stuff that have stories, Dead or Alive was one of those that had one awful
Didn't that
lot.
have just like women playing volleyball in bathing suits?
Yeah, but believe that's another one. But that same one though. But they decided to there's a quote unquote storyline mode to those games,
wow.
and none of them ever make sense. They're all absolutely just awful shoehorn nothings. But this was like that, but with good stuff. But with like an actual story in between instead of just like, and this character meet, and they don't like each other, fight.
And the Batmobile is conveniently waiting, along with Alfred, who now has a top knot of sorts.
Now,
he's got just a little bit of hair pulled back in what might be a top knot behind his head.
I do like the interesting fact that, Batman was the last one through the singularity, if you will, if that's what we can call it.
Yeah.
He's like the last one through the singularity, but at the same time, too, but on account of that, he's like 2 years off everyone else who went in just
he got there 2 years
did.
later, essentially.
But I don't understand. Like, that was another one where I guess they were just like, shut up, stupid. Where it was just like, how do we have all the tech and stuff? Because like 2 seconds ago, you were just like, I've got no tech. There's no things online. I was like, yeah, there's no internet in feudal Japan. So that's kind of what's going to happen. And he did have some, stuff that was, I guess, stored in the cache. But why did you have, where did the Batmobile come from?
And also, man,
Where did all
know,
this tech come from? Why is it in Japan? Does anyone have answers to these questions? No, they don't.
In the blink of an eye, he shaves the top of his head to look like Friar Tuck. He's going to be
that? That was just that was the biggest question mark in this whole film. Is who thought this was a good idea?
But he doesn't just shave it to look like Friar Tuck. He leaves a little patch of the bat symbol in hair on top of the bald spot on his head. And I can, as hard as you have to suspend disbelief, it can happen. Maybe he could find a razor and shave his head to look like that. But he also grew a very full beard.
It doesn't there's a real time place problem on this film too. Because you're just like, is it 5 minutes? Is it 5 years? Who knows what's going on here? That haircut though, that was egregious. There's literally no reason to have that there other than that's something that you wanted to do. And like, hey, you remember the '80s when people used to shave crap in their head? Let's do that here, but put a Batman symbol on Batman's head. It'll be hilarious. It's stupid.
I applaud the choice to ditch that look, but he ditches that look after one scene. We never see the monk Batman look come back for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, there's no reason for it to be there. It makes no sense. I don't even think we see him shave.
Oh, and then he gets taken back to the Joker's Arkham Castle, where Batman and Catwoman are both there. They're trying to get the Quake engine, which is the name of this time machine, and it turns out that Arkham Castle is a giant robot also. Like a steampunk style robot, but not really so much steampunk. I mean, it just kind of looks like a normal robot, like a transformer that just happens to be in feudal Japan.
Oh, Bruce, did you know that Adam has a little bit of info into this sort of thing?
Let's hear about it.
There's a trio of movies out there that I've dug, which, by the way, don't show your kids. They might seem like, oh, these will be fun for the kids. No, they will not. But they're adult in nature in most, just graphic wise. There's one called Machine Girl. Give you an idea what that's about. A little school girl, she's probably like 18 or whatever, gets her hand tempura fried off, and then they put a machine gun on her arm, and then she just goes and machine guns people up.
Sounds perfect.
That's the most realistic one. There's another one called Tokyo Gore Police, which is way over the top. It would remind you like watching.
Are these animated?
No, these are all live action.
Good, perfect.
These are all real. Tokyo Gore Police, which there will be a scene there that will make you go, that is probably one of at least top 5, maybe even top 3 amounts of blood that you'll see on screen at one time. But the third one that's put out by this group is called Robo Geisha. Robo Geisha it's first of all, it's the worst of all of them.
Sounds like RoboCop, only with a geisha.
So yeah, it's a Robo Geisha who has like knives that come out of every place.
Gotcha. You don't have to elaborate. I got you.
But I need to elaborate on some things, because at some point in the film she turns into a tank. And drives up the sides of skyscrapers, and she turns into these old-style buildings that we see here in Batman Ninja, and starts fighting other big giant things. So if you are a fan of stupid, crazy crap like that, if you love guy in monster suits fighting other guys in monster suits, if you like Voltron, if you like any of this kind of crap, Gundam, this is it. Run down now, but plop your money down for this, dude. No, but Batman Ninja, same thing. It's the exact same thing. So
now here's a new thing that happened that I've never seen. I've seen Batman's equipment do a lot of stuff. We've all seen like the Batmobile spit out the motorbike from the middle. You know, 'cause that happens.
My gosh, this takes like Nolan's thing and just says, "Screw you! What you think you got something that's cool? You think you want to wow an audience with your Bat Pod cycle coming out of the Batmobile? La di da, my friend."
Yeah, he has to fight Sumo Bane, and the Batmobile motorcycle turns into Bat Armor to fight Sumo Bane.
But there's 5 things. First, it starts as a car, then it goes to the plane, then it goes to the bike, then it goes to the other. Like this thing, he's got 15 different ways. It's just like
Transformers, man, more than meets the eye.
Whatever happens, Batman's got a switch he can flip and just goes, well, I guess we're a submarine now. It doesn't, but he might as well. I wouldn't have been shocked if he'd have been like, we're getting down to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean now. That wouldn't surprise me.
Isn't it around this part where just out of the blue, a group of ninjas that are the Bat Clan of Hida, these Bat ninjas led by a guy called Eon, I think, or Aeon.
Does anyone know where these people come from? I don't get it.
And wow, there's like the legend of the Bat Ninja. You know, the Shinobi Ninja. Well, Shinobi is ninja. The Bat Shinobi Bat, or whatever. Yeah. And this Bat Clan has worshipped Batman like hundreds of years in the past, and it also turns out they've helped all the Robins, because 4 of the 5 Robins from our rating system go back in time. We have Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and Damian Wayne here, and the Bat Clan of ninjas have taken them in. And the one thing I'll say, hairstyles, man, when it comes to the Robins.
Oh yeah,
because first off, and this is a lighter one, but man, if they don't give like the Goku treatment to Dick Grayson's hair, like when they have Dick Grayson back in Gotham, he has normal hair, but man, what do they give him the Goku treatment, right?
Oh, for sure. It's just like, okay, we're going to just style you right like this. We're going to style you all like our favorite anime characters, everybody. You're going to look like, a slightly hairier version of the kid from Avatar.
We're going to put all the hair care product in the world in your hair, throw you out of an airplane every morning to fix your hair. That's how we're going to do it. And then Damian Wayne, man. Mm-hmm. Now there's nothing about this character's personality that is Damian Wayne. First of all, Damian Wayne would be right at home in feudal Japan. Like Damian Wayne would be the bad guy in a story that understood Damian Wayne. Like it wouldn't be the Joker that Batman had to take down as the Demon King. It would be Damian Wayne. But instead, we get like a side character from Speed Racer here with Monkey Chi.
He straight up has Chim Chim from Speed Racer. Oh my God.
Once again, this is where I say I don't know if this is something that's expected in your entertainment in Japan, that you have to have the monkey sidekick, or is this something here for American audiences to say, like, yeah,
or
we know that
we're
going to throw the stereotypes at you and laugh at you, not with you, kind of thing.
That's the only version that has the monkeys in it. The American ones, it's like, God bless the Americans, they love this monkey garbage.
And the haircut, man, the haircut that Damien has is weird. Like, a lot of work goes to make his hair look ugly. He looks like an old man, first off. Like, they mimic a receding hairline, but then they put some hair still in the middle, so it's a little bit like old man, a little bit like Mr. T.
It's like he's got like an overzealous Wong Fei Hung haircut, but like there's some in the middle for some weird reason.
It is the weirdest.
It's like we got Gideon in the middle and Wong Fei Hung in the back with a domino mask and a Chim Chim the monkey.
And then Red Hood, yeah, Red Hood is off camera at this point because he's off on some side mission to the farmland. And Red Robin, they just ran out of caring. Like, Red Robin is just a boring, T-Drugs character, just a boring generic character because they did the crazy hair for Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne. But man, when we finally meet Red Hood, and he's got like this big red chef's hat pulled down over his head, I guess the feudal Japan equivalent of a hood.
I love that. It's so bizarre and weird and like 16th century looking. It looks so dumb. It's cool.
And this is when the art changes to watercolors. I
mean,
a really weird change in the art. And at this point, I'm worried.
It's already
like,
changed like 4 times at this point, too.
But this was the most jarring change, to me at least. And I was also kind of worried. I was worried that the rest of the movie was going to be like this because first there was no context for this change. And I thought, man, maybe they just switched animators like halfway through the movie or ran out of money or something, because this is really rough abstract art, man.
Yeah, it's and that's when we get into the your Alex Maleev and your and your David Mack kind of like out there, sort of like, hey, here's whatever kind of crazy crap we got. Shut up and enjoy.
And it's this weird story about Joker is suffering from amnesia, and he and Harley Quinn have just become farmers out in the country, but Red Hood doesn't care. He's there still, like, beating him up pretty violently, man. I mean, they really bring out the dark side of Jason Todd here, beating him up before Batman shows up and convinces him to stop and lets them think that they've reformed. And then, of course, later on we find out that they were both right. Like, he really had got amnesia, but he'd also had his memory triggered right at that moment when that new flower grew up out of the ground.
I also thought at the same time, or could that be, just as a fun kind of brain exercise? Because I think it is how, like I think it is what you said that it is, right? But I guess my own thought process was at the same time a just kind of fun mental exercise, is that what if they never really were, but somehow their mind, like this flower and their mind convinced them that they were.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's just like I said. Who knows? I think it is like you said. It's just they lost track of it. But I think it's also a cool idea to what if they never actually were Joker and Harley Quinn? And this is the thing that, like, after somebody keeps telling you enough times that you're a murderer,
that is
perhaps
an
you might
thought
murder
experiment.
somebody. You know what I mean?
Because also most of the art that we're seeing in this movie shows us Harley Quinn kind of the way we expect Harley Quinn to look. But in this watercolor art, she really looks like a Japanese lady, like the way that her face is drawn and things, and does not look like the Harley Quinn in the rest of the movie. This is this weird, interesting side story where maybe Jason Todd just beat up an innocent couple of farmers out there.
Until they decided to then maybe Larry, let's just put this out on a crazy idea. Maybe he killed, like, Joker and Harley Quinn some time ago, sees people that reminds him of them and almost beats them into submission.
That's a Twilight Zone episode.
Isn't it though? And then but like to this wildflower will then, drive them crazy, and if they're kind of beaten into submission enough to eventually their minds would go crazy and believe that indeed it was them all along. I don't know, it's just I like playing around with thoughts like that.
Yeah. Now, at some point, Gorilla Grodd tries to get Batman to jump in the hot tub with him.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of weird things. And
then Gorilla Grodd sort of double crosses Batman and the Joker at the same time and reveals he's working with Two-Face and Deathstroke and Poison Ivy, and and the Penguin all have their own castle robots. So they plan for this big fight, which, you know, interesting that I guess in feudal Japan, when you were going to have a war, there was no like sneak attacks or just attack people on their home front. You would say, meet me at the field of hell, or what do they call this? The field of hell. That's what they call it. And bring your best castle robot. And they all have castle robots that in the very typical, at least what I think of as typical anime naming convention, if your castle is a green castle powered by plant venom, you call it my big green plant venom castle activate, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
Like they really have very literal naming conventions.
Good time, fun show, happy hour.
Yeah, super terrific happy hour.
Exactly. But that's, it's so weird. It's so crazy. And then we go, as soon as you just think that this movie cannot top itself in wild and crazy and wacky things again, the little monkeys get on a flute and call a whole, what?
Yeah. Monkey Chi calls up a whole army of samurai monkeys. Like the monkeys just show up equipped in samurai
They all
armor.
got backpacks and helmets and stuff, and they're
and
like thousands of them.
And we're getting kind of like the mecha battles where each castle is a mecha, but then Grodd uses mind control to take over everybody's castle, and we get the Voltron treatment.
Oh my
Get
god!
like the evil Emperor Joker Voltron robot, and then Joker takes over from Grodd somehow, so now he has control of the Lord Joker bot.
We're not making any of this up. This
And
is
then
what
the
movie
monkeys
is.
form giant monkey samurai. Like the monkeys who are
Yes.
like literal monkeys in samurai armor. They're not robot monkeys.
Nope.
They're not specially trained super powerful monkeys. They're just monkeys that all jump on each other's back and form
a symbiote being of sorts.
Yeah, that fights against the Joker bot, but the Joker bot's too powerful, so then the
And
bats
again,
fly in.
if you think that this movie has gone too far and you think you've seen everything, as we just explained to you, you are wrong. Here comes another one where all that little faction that we talked about that comes in that has all the
bat
bats and
ninjas.
stuff, all the bat ninjas come in, and they have millions of bats that come together. That combines with the little
the
monkeys,
monkey samurais
and then that makes a giant Batman.
that looks like neither a bat nor a monkey samurai. Like, I don't understand how those units, like, I understand nanobots and pixels and the way that you can combine things to look like new things. I don't see how monkeys and bats mix together to look like a 50-foot tall golden age version of Batman.
It's unbelievable. And then that Batman then fights that giant
Well,
Joker
no,
robot.
But he puts the actual Batman in his bat fist,
In his
and they
bat
call him
fist,
the Bat
yeah.
God. And then they like fist to fist punch until the fist punches through Jokerbot and Batman jumps out of the fist. And then you get a convention that's not limited to anime. It comes up sometimes in comic books written by writers I don't consider to be traditional Batman writers, sometimes in other stories where I feel like they're told by people that don't appreciate Batman. But it comes down to a sword fight between Batman and the Joker.
Again, another thing that you're just like, wow, what's so weird out of left field kind of thing. And even then they throw another one at you.
All the things that make the Joker an imposing enemy for Batman, none of those come down to physical strength. Like we all understand, if it comes down to mano a mano, straight up just fighting, who's got the strongest fists, who's best with the sword, there's no competition there. But this tries to boil it down to the expert swordsmanship of the Joker being too much for Batman, who at this point is more like Batman Samurai than Batman Ninja. Like throughout the whole thing, I thought
You're kind of right.
Batman Samurai would have been a better name.
In the way that he's like put together and everything, his type of garb and all that kind of stuff is actually way more samurai. You're right.
And here's another question, man. My mind was blown watching this movie when I'm watching them fight, and I thought, well, what's the difference between a ninja sword and a samurai sword? And then I was struck by the fact that there is no difference between a ninja sword and a samurai sword.
No, there's got to be. There's got to be a difference between a katana and a something or other.
No, I think they're both katanas, man. I think all my life I've been living an illusion.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna say this right now. Any of our like martial arts people or just Asian folks in general, email us. Just let us know where we're wrong. I'm sure we're wrong.
Well, you went
I
from
feel
martial
wrong.
arts people to Asian people in general.
Look, I'm just giving it to everybody. If you're like, look, if you're a white dude who's into martial arts, and God knows there's plenty of them, and you know
Yeah.
about this stuff, I want to hear from you too. I don't want to say just the Asian folks because maybe there's a
and
white
you know
dude
what?
that
I'll
knows
go
about it. I
so
don't
far
know.
as to say, Steven Seagal, if you're listening, I don't really want to hear from you.
Oh, I do want to hear from Steven Seagal. Please, just email us at hearmoviepodcast@gmail.com. You know the address.
Well, as they're drawn in this movie, I'll say this much. I looked closely, and there's no difference between Joker's samurai sword and Batman's ninja sword.
Well, la-di-da. I wouldn't have told you that anything looked different in this movie. That's just going like, I didn't think that Apollo landing looked correct in that animated film. Shut up. Of course it didn't.
But I guess at the end of the day, Batman wins, right? Doesn't he win the sword fight somehow, even though it looks like Batman got stabbed, but it was a decoy Batman?
Yeah, it was a decoy Batman that
really
was made up
confused
of
by
the
that.
it was also made up of the bats or something. And like he kind of like maybe that's why
It's
the
an
Batman
old ninja trick.
couldn't
It's an old ninja trick to have a
defeat him or something.
clone of yourself made up entirely of bats.
Yeah, that goes around, and it's just like maybe that's why the Joker couldn't beat him because he was fighting against like clones, and that's why the Joker had like as good enough as a chance as he did. I don't know. It's really it really falls apart, and at the end they just go, "Hey, we're going back to our regular time. Bye, everybody." Credits.
Man, but then this has a mid-credit sequence. Like this is a movie
Oh, I
that doesn't
didn't see
really
that.
need a credit sequence.
I didn't get that far. I just saw.
Oh man, I watched it because we're back in
Hold on, I want to try to see it.
modern day.
Oh wait, this is going through the regular tubes. Sorry. Go ahead.
But we get back in Gotham City at regular day, and Catwoman is selling some ancient Japanese vase that she brought with her when she time traveled to get a bunch of money. She rides off on her motorcycle, and then Alfred gives Batman his tuxedo and says, "We have to go meet the governor." And then Batman jumps in this weird contraption that looks like the Batmobile, but it also looks like a Japanese carriage, and it's being pulled by like 8 horses. And he just rides through the streets of downtown Gotham in this horse-drawn Batmobile with no explanation.
Oh man, I'm watching it right now. I didn't know this was here. I would have watched it.
Oh, it's the weirdest thing of the whole movie. Like, I do not understand what the auteur is trying to say by having Batman as Bruce Wayne in a Batmobile pulled by horses.
Look, man, that's you want to make sense of the movie that we watched today? I don't think so, my friend. I don't think that's how the world
if that
works.
became the go-to Batmobile in the future, is this gigantic horse-drawn carriage. Are those hooves I hear in the distance? That's the sound of justice.
Oh my gosh, look at this thing. It's got like the Japanese like lanterns and stuff on the
style.
back. What in the world, dude?
And it's enormous. It like hits the curb when they try to go around a corner.
Yeah, that would be one of those like, has to get into the left lane to turn right kind of deals.
I don't understand the purpose of this. And also, Bruce Wayne could afford to hire like a regular limo or a taxi or an Uber. And the point is, he's Bruce Wayne. This kind of blows your secret identity when you're in a totally impossible to miss horse-drawn Batmobile thing.
You thought Tim Burton's car had to take wide turns, boy.
At least Tim Burton's car didn't drop brown nuggets every few blocks.
That's true, man. Batmobile's got to stink up something fierce.
Full-time job for Robin just to scoop.
Oh man, which one of you sad Robins wants to hop on this toilet duty over here? Because these horses are going nuts, boy.
And he feeds them nothing but beefarino.
Rusty. Oh, I think we've about wrung everything out of this bad
Two
boy.
Seinfeld references in this anime.
What can I say? We're on top of the point. Let's see. Is there anything else that we need to cover?
I think I've exhausted everything I had to say.
Yeah, I think okay. Well, that's true.
Monkey Chi. Any other statements about Monkey Chi?
First of all,
Chim Chim.
Chim Chim, the little the monkey from Speed Racer is in this. I swear to God, he better he's in the trunk of a car or something. He's got to be he's like ready to throw a wrench at Racer X or whatever's going on.
And
I
the
want Monkey
interesting
Chi to have his own program, some spinoff.
And Monkey Chi gets a Monkey Chi girlfriend at one point,
gets
and
a
they look a
girlfriend
lot
by
like the
the end.
Monchi Chis. Are you familiar with the Monchi Chis?
Oh, I think I had them for dinner once. What is that?
Way up in the trees live the Mon-Chi-Chis. Just check on YouTube sometime. Mon-Chi-Chi
Oh, I
theme
feel
song.
like I've heard that at some point.
Yeah, but these monkey chi and girl monkey chi look like Mon-Chi-Chi. So I think there might be a lawsuit brewing here.
It's like they're like the cousin Oliver of this Batman film. And all of a sudden they're just like, God,
It's
we
the
need
new
something
Robin
cute
is
for the
Monkey Chi.
kids. Put a domino mask on that monkey and make him an official Robin.
Monkey-Chi Robin.
This monkey's our newest Robin, and he goes to places with Batman to solve crimes. And everybody just goes, "Hey, what's with the
And then
monkey?"
there's also a little monkey that goes with Bruce Wayne to do business deals, and nobody ever makes the connection.
This is my ward.
Monkey-Chi.
I would watch that movie. I would watch it.
And then Batman gets in the hospital, and Monkey-Chi has to put on the bat suit and be Batman for a few months.
It's another little steel, but with a monkey. No one notices. Oh my gosh. All right, we need to wrap this thing up. And there's only one real way to do that.
Yeah, is it possible that this Japanese animation could in any way, shape, or form relate to the great Sly Stallone?
Well, thank you, Bruce. I have a prepared statement.
Huh.
Well, HMPers, Sean is out, and it falls to me once again to do the Stallone connection. And I'll be honest with you guys. I made a mistake. Because when the show was over last week, Bruce and I decided what movie we should review next week. Oh, what's that? You missed that bit of info? That's right. It was over for our lovely Patreon supporters at patreon.com/HMP. Even without hesitating, I suggested that we go back and review Batman Ninja on account that Sean doesn't like a lot of these DC animated movies. And let's be honest, who could blame him? So I suggested that we review Batman Ninja, only to forget that I would have to fill in for Sean on the Stallone connection. No, you don't understand. I had to fill in on a Stallone connection on an animated movie made mostly by Japanese people. You know what's hard to connect America's favorite cured meat Sylvester Stallone to? Animated movies. You know what's harder? Japanese animated movies, and boy, oh boy, what did I get myself into? But I held my head up and sallied forth. Michael Uslan is the producer of Batman Ninja, and if that name sounds a little familiar, it probably should be. Whether or not you know it, if you're a listener to this fine podcast, there's a more than good chance that something Michael Uslan has done has affected your childhood. Don't believe me? Tell me how some of these titles tickle your fancy. Swamp Thing, Tim Burton's Batman movies, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, Batman Sub-Zero, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Constantine, all 3 Batman Nolan films, Lego Batman, and so many of these garbage DC direct-to-animated films. What I'm trying to say here is that Michael Uslan has done a ton of stuff, and his name will be brought back up on HMP for quite some time, so I'm saving some of the more interesting bits about Michael Uslan's life for a later date. But don't let that get you down. We've got a good one for you this week. Now, it's always fun to go back and look at someone's credits on IMDb. You can find out who your favorite actor is then when they did something that they don't want you to see. Or, did you know that, an actress that you love wanted to direct? You never know. But here's the real fun. The real thing to do is look at the miscellaneous crew tab. This is where you'll find things they never want you to see. They held the boom mic for 2 scenes on his cousin Tommy's Trauma knockoff, or she was the butt double for Lonnie Anderson in a special edition of WKRP in Cincinnati. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I got a hold of Bruce Leslie's Dream Journal there. Now, Michael Uslan is no stranger to the miscellaneous crew page. Little to the knowledge of most, Michael Uslan did a little lawyering back in the day. That's right. This big-time hotshot movie producer was also a production attorney for such films as Black Stallion, Raging Bull, Apocalypse Now, and, of course, Rocky II, starring the #1 cheese in America, Sylvester Stallone. Man, Michael Uzlan, you do it every time. So there you have it, HMPers, this week's Stallone Connection. Now, Bruce Son, let's get back and rate this sucker so we can get to doing what we do best, Shogun Assassin cosplay.
Oh, man, I love my Shogun cosplay much more than the actual made-for-TV miniseries Shogun.
All right. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
This is weird. I started off by saying it. I'm going to bookend it by saying this is weird. This movie is weird.
Yeah.
The art is beautiful. The art's absolutely beautiful, but it's kind of static. Like I said, at points it felt more like a motion comic or some kind of avant-garde art film. I do think the art is worth checking out, but I do think it would work better as a comic book than a movie for me. I find the story nearly incomprehensible, but if you broke it up into a 6-issue miniseries comic, I'd probably be into it, you know? Some things just work better in different mediums. You know, that's kind of the case for a lot of things. And this, though, is a movie that we're given. I know the critics seem to like it to the tune of 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. But for me, it's a monkey chi Damian Wayne.
This movie is all over the place. It's really weird. It's really crazy. On my Facebook page, a girl that I used to work at Starbucks with, a Chinese girl, and that's important for this, and I'll tell you why in just a second, is that she put up on Facebook that she loves it. And then all of her friends, like a close immediate family and cousins and all that kind of stuff, apparently they all got together and watched this, and everybody loved it. It felt like I was being trolled. Because I was just like, but and I hadn't seen it at this point, and I was like, but come on, it's a DC Direct animated film. How good could it be? And it felt like everybody in there was trolling me, saying, no, this is great. And I'm like, there's no way. These are all garbage.
They all got together to punk you.
Yeah, it felt like it. And then I watched it, and man, if you love anime, if you love, guys in suits fighting monsters and Voltron and all this kind of jazz, and like I said, the Afro Samurai stuff, if you like any of that, this is right in your wheelhouse, dude. It is wild. It is crazy. There is something going on in every at least 15 to 20 minutes. You're going to be like, what? What am I watching? This is just bizarre. It is off the map. This is not something that would ever come out of America. It is just bizarre. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I really like this. I'm going to watch this again on my own volition. I can't believe I'm saying these words. And I'm not a big anime fan. I'm really not. I've seen, a lot of the stalwart standards, that you see back in the day when you're a kid that grows up in the 90s. But that's about it. I'm not a huge fan, but something about this, while I'm not super crazy about everything, it's just so kooky and crazy it feels like you have to watch. And you're like, while it's
it is
strange
weird. If you
and
like
it's
weird,
bizarre,
you can't go wrong there.
It's not boring because you're always watching something new. And man, oh man, when thousands of monkeys get together and decide to form an actual body of sorts and fight things, I'm going, what am I watching? This is amazingly stupid and weird. I love it, and this is a very solid Tim Drake for me. I can't believe it. I'm astounded.
Nice.
I'm astounded. Big deal. This movie. So I honestly, like I said, it's out on demand right now and out on Blu-ray and everything. I suggest you check it out. And again, I didn't think I had any kind of passing knowledge. You'll either love it or you hate it. But man, but you're right. I think comic-wise, it probably would be half decent as well.
Yeah, I think to me, seeing Batman given this more traditional anime treatment is almost as jarring as when I see like Death Note made with an entirely Western cast set in Seattle. Sometimes I think let each thing be its own thing. You don't have to squish them together.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I think I was the one who was most hype on, who most liked the new Death Note stuff than anyone else.
Yeah.
So I'm a weirdo. What can I say?
Hey, I saw a great Death Note cosplay yesterday at my local comic book convention.
I hope you were going to be like, I saw some great Death Note cosplay at my local Whole Foods the other day, and I'm like, wait a minute.
That would be awesome.
You walk in and just like, time to buy some avocado. What in the wide world of sports is this? And he's just like, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
I do cosplays on Thursdays. But we would hope that you, before Thursday, head on down to patreon.com/HMP, heck of a segue, and vote on what we're going to watch for next week. And those of you lucky members up there, you get to choose from Surrogates, Ghost World, Barbed Wire, A History of Violence. This is the Bridesmaids category. And one of these is getting married. I'll tell you that. They're getting married with HMP next week. And we'll do that.
Unless Karate Kid wins by the right end.
Unless Karate Kid wins by the right end. Oh, my gosh. I'm telling you, we're going to... Would it be hilarious if we just had like an influx of new Patreon people who all just said Karate Kid just to throw the vote weird and wild? Because I think most normal Patreon supporters will vote within the rules, but I think there's enough crazy outsiders that just go, I really want to see him talk about Karate Kid. It's like they can relate it back to a comic. It can happen. And I recently saw Karate Kid on the big screen, so it's fresh in my mind. I'll see it again too. In the meantime, though, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet, sir?
Go check out Heroes and Villains podcast, because I've had 2 new episodes after going like 3 months without any. The most recent episode went up last week, went up on Memorial Day, and it was Detective Chimp. And you never know, I might roll with the monkey theme and do a Monkey Chi episode next week.
Yes, please make it happen, man. Oh, coming back with a vengeance over there. And, of course, my other podcast, The Film Find, at filmfind.com. This week I had my buddy Robert Nunnery come in. We talked Solo and a whole bunch of other kind of Star Wars stuff. And we've even got a bonus episode coming out on the Film Find Patreon feed where we talk a whole bunch of home theater, and that's coming out early this week. And next week we got all kinds of new stuff, man. So check it out at the Film Find everywhere you find finer podcasts. And, of course, listen to our buddy Sean Keenan's podcast over at dogeatpod.com. It's a hilarious program about dog movies. All those little, Airbud sequels and stuff that you've seen.
Yeah.
They talk about those over there. So dogeatpod.com, everybody. That is it. Join us next week when we talk about whatever our lovely people at patreon.com/HMP decide that we should watch. Until then, for the absent Sean Keenan, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Goodbye, Marty and Evie. Goodbye, Commodore.
I want to do the Commodore.